They say angels whispered her name, but not all whispers come from heaven. In the lively town of Awujo, where the streets buzzed with the energy of traders and the air carried the scent of roasted plantains, a new spiritual movement was sweeping through the land. At the center of it all was a woman everyone claimed had a direct line to the divine, Prophetess Gloria. Gloria wasn't your ordinary preacher. No, she was a phenomenon. Her long, flowing white robes shimmered as though made of celestial fabric, and her voice carried an otherworldly cadence that made even the most skeptical listener stop in awe. They called her Mama Angelic because of her claim. Angels visited her every night, delivering divine messages meant to change lives. Her church, the Covenant of Divine Glory Ministry, sprang up almost overnight. Within weeks, it grew into a megachurch, with thousands of eager followers flocking to witness her sermons. The testimonies were endless. Mama Gloria prophesied my promotion, and it happened the next day. She prayed over my womb, and now I'm pregnant after 10 years of waiting. The miracles seemed unstoppable, but what really drew the masses was Gloria's signature service, the Heavenly Exchange Program. God is tired of his children living in lack, she would cry out, her voice trembling with passion. Bring your worldly possessions to the altar, and the angels will multiply them 100-fold. And people did just that. Gold necklaces, wads of cash, land documents, even car keys piled up at her feet. One Sunday, Gloria introduced something new. She called it the Angel's Voice Pillow. For a small donation of $500, you could take home a pillow anointed by angels. Sleep on it, she said, and in your dreams, the angels will reveal your destiny. The pillow sold out within minutes, yet not everyone was convinced. Sitting quietly in the back pew was a sharp-eyed young woman named Ada. Ada wasn't there for miracles. She was there for answers. Her younger brother, Timmy, had given away their father's farmland after Gloria promised him financial breakthroughs. Now, they were struggling to eat while waiting for angelic blessings that never came. Ada's suspicions grew when she noticed something peculiar during the service. Gloria performed her most dramatic miracle yet. She healed a deaf woman who had supposedly never heard a sound in her life. But Ada recognized the woman from a nearby market, where she'd been haggling prices with perfect hearing just days earlier. Something isn't right, Ada muttered under her breath, her fists clenching. As the congregation erupted in wild cheers, she made a vow to herself. I'll find out what's really going on with this so-called prophetess. What Ada didn't know was that exposing Gloria would lead her into a dangerous web of secrets, deceit, and something far darker than she ever imagined. When the light shines too brightly, it casts an even darker shadow. After that Sunday service, Ada began her investigation. It wasn't just about her family anymore. It was about all the people who were handing over their livelihoods for Gloria's promises. Who was this woman that claimed to speak to angels? And why did her so-called miracles feel more like magic tricks? Ada's first stop was the market. She needed to confirm her suspicions about the woman who had been miraculously healed. After asking a few vendors, she tracked her down. Chinwe, a loud, cheerful trader known for selling smoked fish. Excuse me, Sister Chinwe, Ada said, pretending to shop. Weren't you the one healed at Mama Gloria's church last Sunday? Chinwe froze, her hands hovering over a piece of fish. Ah, what do you mean? Ada leaned in. I saw you in the service. You couldn't hear, remember? But here you are, bargaining with customers like you've always had perfect hearing. Chinwe's face darkened. She grabbed Ada's arm and dragged her to a quiet corner behind her stall. Keep your voice down, she hissed. Why? Ada asked, folding her arms. Chinwe sighed and glanced around. Look, it's not what you think. Mama Gloria paid me to do it. She said it was for the glory of God. Paid you? Ada's voice rose before she caught herself. You mean to tell me that miracle was fake? Chinwe nodded, her eyes darting nervously. She gives us a script to follow. I got 50,000 naira for it. Do you know how hard it is to make that kind of money selling fish? I couldn't say no. Ada felt a wave of anger surge through her. And you didn't think about the people who are suffering because of her lies. My brother gave up our family land because of her promises. Chinwe looked away, guilt flashing across her face. I didn't think it would go that far. I'm sorry. Ada left the market more determined than ever. She wasn't just going to uncover the truth. She was going to expose it for everyone to see. The next step was the church itself. Ada decided to attend Gloria's Wednesday prayer meeting, where the prophetess often performed private blessings for the wealthy. Ada didn't have money to offer, but she had something far more valuable, her curiosity and a plan. At the meeting, Gloria was in her element, draped in a golden robe that shimmered under the dim light. She moved through the crowd like royalty, her hands grazing foreheads as people collapsed, crying and speaking in tongues. Ada stayed at the back, observing every move. Then Gloria announced, "Tonight we will have a special visitation. The angels are descending to bless those who have faith enough to sacrifice." The congregation erupted into cheers, but Ada's sharp eyes caught something strange. Gloria's assistant, a man named Brother Ease, discreetly slipped a folded note into Gloria's hand. The prophetess opened it, read it quickly, and smiled. Moments later, she called a wealthy businessman to the altar, delivering a highly specific prophecy about his future. Does God need notes to speak to his people? Ada thought, her suspicion deepening. After the service, Ada followed Brother Ease out of the church, keeping a safe distance. He stopped at a small rundown building on the outskirts of town. Ada waited until he disappeared inside before approaching. Through a crack in the window, she saw him sorting through a pile of documents, prayer request forms filled out by church members. Ada's heart raced as she realized the truth. Gloria wasn't hearing from angels. She was simply using the personal information people had written down to craft her so-called prophecies. Ada pulled out her phone and snapped photos as evidence, but before she could leave, a hand clamped down on her shoulder. "What do you think you're doing here?" a deep voice growled. She turned to see Brother Ease glaring at her, his eyes narrowing. "Just passing by," Ada said, trying to sound casual. Easy wasn't convinced. "You shouldn't be snooping around places that don't concern you." Ada forced a smile. "Oh, but it does concern me, and soon it will concern the whole town." Ez's expression darkened, and Ada knew she had just made a dangerous enemy. What happens when the hunter becomes the hunted? Ada knew she had crossed a line with Brother Ease, but fear was not her language. She returned home that night with a fire in her heart and evidence on her phone. However, she was acutely aware that Gloria and her minions wouldn't let her investigation slide. This wasn't just about fake miracles anymore. It was about protecting people from exploitation. The following Sunday, Ada returned to the church, blending into the sea of eager worshippers. She wasn't there to pray, she was there to dig deeper. With her phone hidden discreetly in her scarf, she planned to record everything she could. The service began with Gloria's usual theatrics, soaring hymns, exaggerated gestures, and declarations of divine visions. "The Lord has shown me great things this morning," she bellowed. "Miracles will rain down upon those who are faithful." The crowd roared with excitement, waving their arms and tossing money onto the altar. Gloria basked in the adoration like a queen on her throne. Ada clenched her fists, disgusted by the spectacle. Suddenly, Gloria's voice dropped to a hushed tone, signaling the beginning of her special prophecy session. The congregation fell silent as Gloria called forward a young widow named Amaka. "Sister Amaka," Gloria began, her voice trembling with faux emotion, "the Lord has shown me your pain. He has seen the sleepless nights you've endured since your husband passed, but today he has a message for you. Your financial breakthrough is coming." Amaka collapsed to her knees, weeping. The crowd cheered, but Ada's sharp eyes caught the subtle smirk on Gloria's lips. Ada remembered seeing a marker filling out a prayer request form 2 weeks earlier, detailing her struggles. Gloria wasn't prophesying, she was regurgitating private information. Ada discreetly recorded the entire interaction, her heart pounding. She couldn't believe how shamelessly Gloria manipulated vulnerable people. But she knew she needed more than just videos. She needed hard evidence. After the service, Ada lingered in the churchyard, pretending to browse a small market stall. She watched as Brother Ease emerged from the side door, carrying a leather briefcase. Ada's instincts kicked in. She followed him at a safe distance, weaving through the crowded streets until they arrived at the same rundown building she had visited earlier. This time, Ada didn't hesitate. She waited until Ezzy disappeared inside before sneaking around to the back. Through a cracked window, she saw him unlocking the briefcase and pulling out stacks of cash, offerings from the service. Beside the money were envelopes, likely containing the prayer requests. Ada's stomach turned. It was all a well-oiled machine. Gather personal information, fake miracles, and extract as much money as possible. But then she noticed something that made her blood run cold. On a small table in the corner of the room sat a collection of strange objects, animal bones, black candles, and a carved wooden idol. Easy lit one of the candles and began chanting in a low, guttural voice. Ada realized with a jolt that this wasn't just fraud, it was something far darker. Before she could process what she was seeing, Ezzy abruptly stopped chanting and turned toward the window. Ada ducked out of sight, holding her breath. After a few tense moments, she heard footsteps approaching the door. She bolted, running as fast as she could through the narrow alleyways. By the time she reached the safety of her home, Ada was out of breath but determined. Gloria wasn't just a fake prophetess. She was deeply involved in occult practices, and Ada was now certain that the church was a front for something sinister. But how could she expose the truth without putting herself in danger? She needed allies, and she needed them fast. That night, Ada contacted her childhood friend Chike, a journalist known for his investigative work. She shared everything she had discovered, from the fake miracles to the occult rituals. Chike listened intently, his expression growing more serious with every word. "This is big, Ada," he said finally. "But if we're going to expose her, we'll need undeniable proof. Something so damning that even her most loyal followers can't deny it." Ada nodded. "I'm willing to do whatever it takes." Chike leaned forward. "Then we're going to have to go deeper. We need to find out what's really happening behind the scenes, and that means getting inside Gloria's inner circle." Ada's heart raced at the thought, but she knew he was right. To bring Gloria down, she would have to infiltrate the church from within. How far would you go to uncover the truth when your life is on the line? Ada wasn't one to shy away from danger, but the thought of infiltrating Gloria's inner circle sent chills down her spine. She spent the next few days strategizing with Chike, knowing full well that a single misstep could spell disaster. The plan was straightforward, though perilous. Ada would ingratiate herself with Gloria by posing as a desperate follower seeking spiritual guidance. She would attend every service, volunteer for church activities, and gradually earn Gloria's trust. On Sunday morning, Ada dressed modestly and arrived at the church early. The atmosphere was electric as usual, with ushers bustling around and worshippers eagerly awaiting Gloria's arrival. Ada joined a group of women arranging flowers for the altar, her demeanor humble and unassuming. By the time Gloria made her grand entrance, Ada had already blended into the fabric of the church. She joined the crowd in singing and clapping, all the while keeping a sharp eye on the prophetess. Gloria's sermon was as theatrical as ever, full of exaggerated gestures and dramatic pauses. "Today, the Lord has revealed to me that someone in this congregation is destined for greatness," Gloria declared, her voice echoing through the hall. The crowd erupted in cheers, but Ada remained focused, taking mental notes on Gloria's manipulative tactics. After the service, Ada volunteered to help clean the church. She knew that staying behind would give her a chance to observe the inner workings of Gloria's operation. Sure enough, as the congregation dispersed, Gloria's entourage began counting the day's offerings in a back room. Ada pretended to be engrossed in scrubbing the floor, but her ears were tuned to the conversations around her. "Make sure we set aside the usual cut for the special project," Gloria instructed Brother Easy, her tone cold and businesslike. Ada's curiosity piqued. What was the special project, and why did it require such secrecy? She decided to stay late, offering to lock up the church. When the last staff member left, Ada was alone. She moved quickly, searching for any clues that could shed light on Gloria's schemes. In a locked drawer in Gloria's office, she found a notebook filled with cryptic symbols and coded entries. Before she could decipher the contents, Ada heard footsteps approaching. She froze, her heart pounding. The door creaked open, and Gloria herself stepped into the room. "What are you doing here?" Gloria demanded, her eyes narrowing. Ada fumbled for an excuse, pretending to tidy up. "I was just finishing some cleaning, Mum. I didn't realize anyone was still here." Gloria stared at her for a long moment, her piercing gaze seeming to see right through her. "You're new, aren't you?" "Yes, Mom. I just wanted to help out," Ada replied, keeping her tone as innocent as possible. Gloria's expression softened, but only slightly. "Dedication is good, but remember, this is the house of the Lord. Stay out of places you don't belong." Ada nodded quickly, excusing herself before Gloria could probe further. She left the church with the notebook hidden under her scarf, her mind racing with questions. Later that night, Ada and Chike pored over the notebook, struggling to make sense of the cryptic entries. But one thing was clear. Gloria's operation was far more organized and sinister than they had imagined. "This isn't just fraud," Chike said grimly. "She's running a full-blown syndicate, and these symbols, they're not random. They look like some kind of occult language." Ada's resolve hardened. She knew she was on the brink of uncovering something massive, but she also knew the risks were growing by the day. Gloria wasn't just a con artist, she was a dangerous woman with powerful connections. "I need to get closer to her," Ada said firmly. "Whatever she's hiding, it's bigger than we thought, and I won't stop until I expose the truth." Chike hesitated. "Just be careful, Ada. People like Gloria don't go down without a fight. When you peer into the abyss, what happens when the abyss peers back?" Ada's determination to uncover Gloria's secrets was unshakable. Armed with the cryptic notebook, she spent hours researching the strange symbols and coded entries. She discovered that some of the symbols were linked to ancient occult practices, rituals meant to bind followers to their leader and ensure unwavering loyalty. But what truly sent shivers down her spine was the connection to the phrase, "the chosen sacrifice," which appeared repeatedly in the notebook. It hinted at something far darker than financial exploitation. To dig deeper, Ada decided to attend Gloria's exclusive Spiritual Revival Night, an event only accessible to a select few within the congregation. Gaining an invitation wasn't easy, but Ada's newfound devotion and eagerness to serve hadn't gone unnoticed. Gloria's assistant, Sister Martha, handed her the coveted pass after Ada spent days tirelessly volunteering. "Remember," Martha warned, "this is a sacred gathering. Only the pure in heart can handle the presence of divine revelation." Ada thanked her, feigning gratitude, though her stomach churned at the thought of what lay ahead. The night of the revival was cloaked in mystery. The venue was not the church, but a secluded estate on the outskirts of the city. The mansion's high walls and iron gates loomed ominously as Ada approached. Inside, the air was thick with incense, and the dimly lit room was filled with worshippers, their faces glowing with anticipation. Gloria entered dramatically, clad in a flowing white robe adorned with golden symbols. Her presence was magnetic, her voice hypnotic as she began to chant in an unfamiliar language. The crowd fell into a trance-like state, swaying to the rhythm of her words. As the ceremony progressed, Gloria's demeanor shifted. Her voice grew deeper, almost otherworldly, and her movements became more deliberate. She held up an ornate mirror, similar to the one Ada had seen during her earlier investigations. "This mirror," Gloria intoned, "reveals the truth of your spirit. Step forward and behold your destiny." One by one, attendees approached the mirror, trembling with a mix of fear and reverence. Each claimed to see visions of their future or past sins revealed. But Ada noticed something strange. Gloria would whisper into their ears before they looked into the mirror, and their reactions seemed eerily scripted. When it was Ada's turn, her heart raced. She approached the mirror, careful to keep her composure. Gloria leaned in close, her voice a low hiss. "Your spirit is restless," Gloria said, her breath warm against Ada's ear. "You seek something greater, but your doubt holds you back. Surrender to the truth, and you will find what you seek." Ada looked into the mirror, but instead of seeing visions, she caught a glimpse of Gloria's reflection. And it wasn't human. For a split second, Gloria's face twisted into something reptilian, her eyes glowing a vivid green. Ada stumbled back, her mind reeling. She quickly composed herself, bowing her head as if overwhelmed by the vision. Gloria smiled knowingly, but her eyes held a flicker of suspicion. The ceremony continued, culminating in a ritual that left Ada shaken. Gloria anointed the group with a strange oil, claiming it would bind their spirits to divine protection. But Ada's instincts screamed otherwise. Later that night, as the crowd dispersed, Ada stayed behind under the guise of helping clean up. She watched as Gloria retreated to a private chamber, carrying the ornate mirror. Ada followed silently, her heart pounding. Peering through a crack in the door, Ada witnessed something she would never forget. Gloria stood before the mirror, chanting in the same strange language, her reflection shifting between human and serpentine forms. The mirror glowed faintly, and the room filled with an unnatural hum. "Show me the doubters," Gloria demanded, her voice distorted. The mirror shimmered, revealing images of people in the congregation, including Ada. Ada's blood ran cold. Gloria knew. She slipped away unnoticed, her mind racing. Gloria's power wasn't just psychological manipulation, it was rooted in something far darker. When Ada met with Chike later, she recounted everything she had seen. "She's not just a fraud," Ada whispered. "She's tied to something evil, something not of this world, and she knows I'm onto her." Chike's face darkened. "Ada, we're playing with fire. We need to be careful. But if what you're saying is true, we can't stop now." Ada nodded, her resolve stronger than ever. "We have to expose her, not just for the lies, but for the danger she poses to everyone who trusts her." When the sheep trust the shepherd, who protects them from the wolf in disguise? The tension between Ada and Gloria had become a silent, dangerous game. After the revival night, Ada knew she couldn't let her guard down. Gloria's abilities weren't mere tricks or sleight of hand. There was an unexplainable darkness fueling her influence. Despite the risks, Ada and Chike decided to investigate further. They needed more than suspicions and strange occurrences. They needed undeniable proof. Their plan? To gain access to the hidden room where Gloria kept her mysterious mirror and other tools of deception. But Gloria was no fool. She had eyes everywhere, loyal followers who would report even the slightest hint of rebellion. Sister Martha, always lingering in the background, seemed particularly wary of Ada since the revival. Ada could feel Martha's sharp gaze following her every move. "You need to be careful," Chike warned during one of their secret meetings. "If Gloria suspects anything, she won't hesitate to protect her secrets." Ada nodded, but her determination outweighed her fear. "We can't stop now. Too many lives are being destroyed because of her lies. We owe it to them to reveal the truth." The opportunity came sooner than they expected. A church worker let slip that Gloria would be traveling out of town for a 3-day spiritual retreat. Ada and Chike knew this was their chance. The night of Gloria's departure, Ada volunteered to stay late at the church under the pretense of preparing for an upcoming service. Chike, posing as a janitor, joined her. Together they searched for the hidden room. The church at night was eerie, its grand hallways dimly lit by flickering candles. Shadows danced across the walls, and the faint sound of a distant hymn played from an unseen source. "It's like the building itself is alive," Chike whispered, his voice barely audible. Ada nodded, suppressing a shiver. They made their way to the corridor where Gloria's private chamber was located. The door was locked, but Ada had come prepared. Using a set of tools she borrowed from Chike's friend, a locksmith, she worked on the lock while Chike kept watch. After what felt like an eternity, the lock clicked open. The two slipped inside, closing the door behind them. The room was unlike anything they had seen. The walls were lined with shelves holding jars filled with strange substances, powders, liquids, and dried herbs. In the center of the room stood the ornate mirror, its frame glinting in the dim light. "It's even creepier up close," Chike muttered, staring at the mirror. Ada approached cautiously, her eyes scanning the strange inscriptions on its frame. She reached out to touch it, but Chike grabbed her hand. "Don't," he warned. "We don't know what it can do." Instead, Ada turned her attention to a table covered with documents and photographs. Among them were pictures of congregation members, including Ada, with notes scribbled in Gloria's handwriting. "She's been keeping tabs on everyone," Ada whispered, her voice trembling. "Their fears, their weaknesses, it's all here." Chike picked up one of the documents, his face darkening. "Look at this. She's targeting wealthy members, manipulating them into making huge donations." As they continued to search, they uncovered something even more chilling. A ledger detailing sacrifices made during Gloria's rituals. Names were crossed out, followed by cryptic symbols. Ada's heart sank as she realized what it meant. "These aren't just financial sacrifices," she said, her voice shaking. "She's asking for things much deeper: health, relationships, even children." Suddenly, a low hum filled the room. The mirror began to glow faintly, its surface rippling like water. Ada and Chike froze, their eyes locked on the mirror. "What's happening?" Chike whispered. The glow intensified, and an image appeared on the mirror's surface. It was Gloria, her face twisted in anger. "You dare enter my sanctuary?" Her voice boomed, though she was miles away. "Do you think you can defy me and survive?" Ada grabbed Chike's arm. "We need to get out of here. Now." The room began to tremble, objects falling from the shelves as the mirror's glow grew brighter. Ada and Chike bolted for the door, barely making it out before the entire chamber was engulfed in an unearthly light. Once outside, they collapsed against the hallway wall, panting. "She knows," Ada gasped. "She knows we were in there." Chike nodded, his face pale. "We've crossed a line. There's no turning back now." Ada clenched her fists, her fear giving way to resolve. "Then we'll expose her, no matter the cost." When the serpent feels threatened, its strike becomes deadly. But who truly holds the power, the predator or the prey? Ada and Chike barely made it home that night, shaken by what they had witnessed in Gloria's hidden room. They knew that the prophetess wouldn't let their intrusion go unanswered. What they didn't anticipate was how swiftly her retaliation would come. By dawn, the whispers began. Congregation members murmured about a divine vision Gloria had received during her retreat. She claimed that a great betrayal was unfolding within the church and that enemies disguised as sheep were plotting to destroy her God-given ministry. "She's setting the stage," Ada said grimly, as she and Chike met in secret later that day. "She knows it was us." Chike nodded, his jaw tight. "We need to act fast. If we wait, she'll turn the entire congregation against us." Their plan was simple but risky. Use the evidence they had gathered: Gloria's ledger, her notes on the congregation, and the photos to expose her lies. They decided to enlist the help of a local journalist, a woman named Ngozi, who had a reputation for uncovering scandals in the community. When they met Ngozi at a small cafe outside the city, they laid everything on the table. Ngozi listened intently, her sharp eyes scanning the documents. "This is big," she said, her voice steady. "But you need to understand what you're up against. Gloria isn't just a fraud. She's built a fortress of fear and loyalty around herself. Exposing her will be dangerous." Ada nodded, her resolve unshaken. "We don't care about the risks. People need to know the truth." With Ngozi's help, they began to piece together a plan. The journalist would release a damning exposé backed by the evidence, and Ada and Chike would speak out publicly about their experiences. But Gloria was already moving against them. During the next church service, she called an emergency gathering, declaring that God had revealed the names of the betrayers. The atmosphere was electric with tension as she spoke, her voice dripping with righteous fury. "They walk among us," she said, her eyes scanning the crowd. "Smiling in your faces but plotting in the shadows. They think they can tear down what God has built, but they will fail." The congregation erupted in shouts of support, their loyalty to Gloria unwavering. Meanwhile, Ada and Chike began to feel the weight of Gloria's influence. Chike's family, devout members of the church, started receiving anonymous threats. Ada's landlord suddenly demanded she vacate her apartment, claiming she had been involved in ungodly activities. "She's isolating us," Ada said, frustration and fear in her voice. "She wants to make us feel alone and powerless." But they refused to back down. Ngozi worked tirelessly to verify the evidence and prepare the story for release. Ada and Chike continued gathering testimonies from former church members who had been manipulated or exploited by Gloria. The night before the exposé was set to go live, Ada received a chilling phone call. "Leave this alone," a distorted voice warned. "You have no idea what you're dealing with." Ada's hands shook as she ended the call, but her determination only grew stronger. The next day, the exposé hit the airwaves, titled "The Prophetess of Shadows: The Truth Behind Gloria's Ministry." It detailed Gloria's manipulative tactics, her suspicious wealth, and the sinister practices uncovered in her hidden room. Ngozi's report was thorough, including testimonies from victims and damning evidence from Gloria's own files. The community was stunned. Social media exploded with reactions, dividing people into two camps: those who believed the revelations and those who stood firmly by Gloria, claiming the report was a satanic attack. But Gloria was not one to take defeat lying down. What will Gloria's counterattack look like? And can Ada and Chike withstand the storm they've unleashed? Keep watching to witness the explosive fallout. When a kingdom of lies is threatened, its ruler will unleash chaos. But truth is a fire. It can't be extinguished. The aftermath of the exposé was immediate and chaotic. Ngozi's report had sent shockwaves across the community, with local news outlets picking up the story and amplifying its reach. Videos of Gloria's lavish mansion and evidence of her fraudulent activities spread like wildfire online. But Gloria wasn't going down without a fight. At her next service, she stood before the congregation, not as a defeated woman, but as a warrior claiming to be under divine attack. Dressed in a flowing white robe and clutching a large Bible, she delivered a fiery sermon. "They think they can destroy me," she bellowed, her voice echoing through the packed hall. "But they are not fighting me. They are fighting God Himself. This is spiritual warfare, my children, and you must choose a side. Stand with God or perish with the wicked." Her words ignited the crowd. Cries of "We stand with you, Mama," filled the air as loyal followers pledged their unwavering support. Gloria declared a week of fasting and prayer to counteract the evil forces. Her loyalists launched a smear campaign against Ada, Chike, and Ngozi, accusing them of being agents of the devil. Ada and Chike found themselves at the center of a storm. Their photos were circulated on social media, accompanied by slanderous accusations. People they once considered friends began to distance themselves. Even Chike's family refused to speak to him, convinced by Gloria's propaganda. "This is worse than we imagined," Chike admitted during one of their late-night meetings. "She's not just defending herself, she's weaponizing her followers against us." Ngozi, however, remained calm. "This is what happens when a powerful figure feels cornered," she explained. "But the truth is out there now, and we need to keep pushing forward." Despite the backlash, cracks began to appear in Gloria's empire. Some of her followers started questioning her extravagant lifestyle and the accusations against her. Former members of the church came forward with their own stories of manipulation and exploitation. One particularly brave woman, Nkechi, shared her harrowing experience of being coerced into giving up her family's land as an offering to Gloria. Her testimony, recorded in a heartfelt video, went viral and drew widespread sympathy. "People are starting to see the truth," Ada said, her voice tinged with hope. But Gloria had one final card to play. One night, during the height of the controversy, she organized an impromptu miracle night at the church. The event was billed as a chance for her followers to witness divine power and reaffirm their faith. Thousands attended, desperate for reassurance that their beloved prophetess was still the vessel of God she claimed to be. The service began with Gloria performing her usual theatrics, dramatic prayers, declarations of healing, and emotional prophecies. But then she unveiled her ultimate spectacle, a supposed resurrection. A young man, claimed to have been dead for 3 days, was brought on stage in a coffin. Gloria prayed fervently over him, shouting commands for him to rise in the name of God. The crowd held their breath as the man slowly stirred and sat up, looking dazed but alive. The hall erupted in cheers and cries of "Hallelujah!" The spectacle temporarily restored Gloria's credibility among her followers. Videos of the miracle flooded social media, with many proclaiming it as proof of her divine power. But Ada, Chike, and Ngozi weren't fooled. They knew it was a stunt, and they were determined to expose it. When the curtain is pulled back, even the most faithful can be shaken by the truth. The so-called resurrection miracle swept through the community like a wildfire, reigniting the loyalty of Gloria's followers. To many, it was the ultimate proof of her divine anointing. But for Ada, Chike, and Ngozi, it was a challenge, a blatant lie begging to be exposed. "What kind of prophetess has to fake a resurrection?" Chike muttered, pacing back and forth in Ngozi's living room. "We have to tread carefully," Ngozi said, her tone measured. "If we're going to reveal the truth, we need undeniable evidence. Otherwise, we'll only strengthen her grip." Ada, who had been scrolling through videos of the event on her phone, suddenly stopped. "Wait," she said, zooming in on the coffin being carried into the church. "Look at this." She pointed to the timestamp on the video. The so-called dead man's coffin had arrived at the church only hours before the miracle. It raised a glaring question. How could the body of a man supposedly dead for 3 days remain in perfect condition with no signs of decay? "That's suspicious," Chike said, leaning in. Ngozi nodded. "It's a lead. Let's find out more about this man." The trio's first stop was the mortuary where the young man, identified as Emeka, was supposedly held before his resurrection. A careful check with the mortuary attendants revealed an astonishing fact. No record of Emeka had ever existed. "Looks like Emeka never died," Ngozi said grimly. Their next step was to locate Emeka himself. After days of searching, they found him in a neighboring town, sitting casually at an outdoor bar. When confronted, Emeka initially denied everything, but under pressure, he finally confessed. "I was hired," he admitted, shifting nervously. "Mama Gloria paid me to play dead. She said it was for the glory of God." Emeka's confession was a bombshell. They recorded his testimony, gathering every detail of how Gloria had orchestrated the event, from the payment to the rehearsals that took place days before the supposed miracle. Armed with this new evidence, Ngozi decided it was time to strike. She contacted a prominent journalist known for exposing corruption. Together, they planned a documentary that would lay bare Gloria's entire operation, including the staged resurrection. The documentary, titled Prophetess of Deception, premiered online and was met with widespread outrage. It featured Emeka's confession, testimonies from former church members, and footage of Gloria's opulent lifestyle funded by her followers' sacrifices. The final blow came when a group of disillusioned congregants filed a lawsuit against Gloria, accusing her of fraud, emotional manipulation, and financial exploitation. The courts issued a warrant for her arrest, sending shockwaves through the community. When Gloria learned of the documentary and the lawsuit, she fled. Rumors swirled that she had escaped to a neighboring country, taking with her the remnants of her ill-gotten fortune. Her church quickly disbanded, with many followers feeling betrayed and ashamed. Meanwhile, Ada, Chike, and Ngozi stood as heroes in their community, celebrated for their bravery and determination. But they knew their mission wasn't just about exposing Gloria, it was about educating others. "We can't let this happen again," Ngozi said during a community meeting. "We must learn to question, to seek the truth, and to protect ourselves from those who prey on our faith." The rise and fall of Gloria serve as a cautionary tale of blind faith and unchecked power. As the dust settles, the community begins to rebuild, this time with eyes wide open. As the story of Gloria's rise and fall comes to an end, we are left with lessons about faith, truth, and the dangers of unchecked power. Gloria's escape leaves an open chapter. Will she resurface to rebuild her empire of deceit, or has her reign truly ended? Let us know in the comments if you want us to continue this tale and uncover what happens next. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more exciting and thought-provoking stories like this one. Make sure to hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Stay tuned, because here at Afro Native Tales, we are dedicated to bringing you captivating tales that will entertain, enlighten, and keep you coming back for more. Until next time, stay curious, stay wise, and always seek the truth.